Hey everyone, my name is James and welcome to the ultimate breakdown of the Terraria 2019 E3 trailer, Journey's End. So a bit of a mouthful, but also a very special occasion. E3 only rolls around once a year and Terraria, well, it's never been there before. Now, I can finally hold up my hands and say, I did have a hand in this project. Relogic were kind enough to bring me on as kind of a director for the trailer, and if you've watched me over the past 8 years, you'll know that that was an amazing opportunity and one that I'm never going to forget. But the trailer was a collaborative effort. It was between me and Chaos, and that's another Terrarian here on YouTube. He really does deserve a hell of a lot of credit. So I'll leave a link to him down below. Please go and subscribe. He's a great dude. So make sure you've seen the trailer in full because I'm going to dissect it scene by scene and it might ruin the magic. But with that out the way, give a big like if you're excited for the trailer and let's jump into it. And it starts off with a pretty small one. Right here in the sky you can see we have a few new cloud shapes. There's also a new background there. But the most prominent one is that bunny cloud. It's beautiful. It just strolls past every now and again. And it's really cute. Why not? Now, Terraria Journey's End. It's a very serious title, and what it basically means is that the update is no longer called 1.3.6. That was kind of like a cover-up. Journey's End is the official name for the update. Now, I never got to ask, what does that mean? I didn't really want to ask. So what I'm going to do in the future is I'm going to do a video breaking down what I think the title means and just talking about that more in depth, but I'll save that for another video. Here we have the player using block swap. We've seen this feature once before, but for those that don't know what it is, essentially you can swap out blocks in Terraria now rather than mining them up and then placing new ones. It just makes building really quick, and it's all based on your pickaxe in your inventory. So you can't swap out stuff in the temple, and you can see here it's quite slow because it's about the speed of a copper pickaxe. There's also a new minimap border. We've seen this too, but it looks really nice, and that sums up this scene. This biome here, it wasn't made by the player, it was generated naturally by the world, and it looks amazing. It's obviously a lot different than what we have in Terraria right now, and one of the things you can point out straight away is these lanterns that are hanging down from the roof. They give off a little bit of light, and it makes the biome just a little bit brighter, a little bit more vibrant. It really feels like a special occasion when you stumble across these now. I really love the new design. This blue moss, it's the first of 3 variants that we see in this one scene. This one's called Xenon Moss. It's bright blue, and you can tell because the character is actually carrying a whole bunch of it. There's also a brand new minecart in this scene, and there's a spoiler in here that I noticed that maybe I shouldn't have done, but I'll leave that for you guys to find out. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. Let me continue. This one is Krypton Moss. It's bright green, beautiful name, and it also features a brand new minecart as well. Now, I'm pretty sure that's the Ninja Turtles outfit that's already in Terraria. If it's new, you might have to point that out to me, because even I can't tell, but it looks really cool. This moss is bright pink, kind of reddish, and it's called Argon Moss. Once again, you can tell from the player's inventory. But next to the moss in that hotbar, you can see they have a slice of cake. Very delicious. We did find out that in a previous spoiler, there'll be a whole bunch of new food in Terraria, and we'll cover some of those later in the trailer. But there's also a brand new minecart in this one as well, alongside a new vanity set. I don't know if it's a full set or just a helmet, but there you go. This scene, it kind of speaks for itself. Player creation alongside world creation has been tweaked a little bit, and this is kind of similar to how it'll look in mobile version 1.3, and we got a spoiler about that a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if I covered it or not, but it's going to look pretty similar between the 2 different versions, and I really like that about it. So this player here, he's going down into this tunnel, and this looks like it's going to be a new entrance to the desert biome. Here though, we have an oasis. This is a mini biome. We've covered that once before in the past, but the player is also carrying some desert torches. He's got some new stuff on his hotbar, but we'll talk about that in a minute. And there's also a new duck and a mini-map border, and they both look great. I particularly like the duck. I wonder if this duck will be able to break Terraria or not. So here the player's using Scarab Bombs. Now we've seen these in a spoiler previously, but what's new here is that as the player throws one down and then moves around, the bomb is moving and matching the player's movements. So what you can do is you can chuck them down, get below the bomb or just off center, and then that way it can explode out of either end and hit what you need it to hit. But you can also make sure that you're out of the blast radius. So it's kind of like a new take on sticky bombs, but they're pretty good. They're pretty effective. There's also a new cactus inside of this little biome as well. It's a little circle one, and there's some stuff on the ground next to it. Now, having the player open up the chest, it reveals a lot to us. First off, that painting, it's actually called Andrew Spinks. This is a joke. I saw a lot of people tweet me, and that's actually the name of it. That's kind of cool. So inside of the chest, we have this new item. It kind of looks a bit like a desert blowpipe. I'm not too sure what it is. Next to that, we have some new desert boots. They look like Hermes boots, maybe just a desert variant of that. We've also got the Scarab Bombs, and I'm guessing that's maybe how you get the Scarab Bombs themselves. Now, below that, below the chest, there's also the book for the Bestiary. We'll talk about that later in the video. There's also this little icon here, and I presume that's how you would do emotes in Terraria. Once again, we'll talk about that later. Above the inventory and off to the right, we have the new suggested achievements. We saw this in a spoiler quite a long time ago, and this feature will essentially just suggest an achievement that you haven't got in Terraria yet. Just keep it there just to remind you. Now I know 99% of players, they're going to open up their inventory and it's going to be that achievement for 200 fishing quests, and that's all they're ever going to see, which is kind of funny. In the inventory, the player has a new spear, which we see it use in the next scene, which is really cool as well. And that pretty much sums up this image. Golfing, it's now a thing in Terraria. It's not a feature I ever expected, but now I'm looking at it, I'm like, yeah, sure, just give me a good adventure map for it, because this looks great. In the player's inventory, we can see there's a whole bunch of different golf sticks, and I would imagine each stick might have a different effect on the ball, or they might just be some kind of cosmetic change. I'm not really too sure about that. We could also see a whistle, another golf ball, and also a golfing tee. Is that what they're called? The little sticks that you put in the ground? Is it a tee? Probably. I don't play golf. And then we move on to the next bit, which is about scoring. So, as the player sinks the ball, you can see in the bottom left you get a notification. Added score 5, current score 21. So it seems like Terraria is going to track the way you play golf, so you can actually treat it like a full-on minigame, especially when you're playing with friends. That's amazing. You would never expect Terraria to go that far, but it just has. And then also on the volcano, I'm pretty sure some of these backgrounds were in Terraria, but they weren't craftable. So I believe you can probably craft them now and make stuff out of them, which I'm sure would make Python really happy because he always wants that. And then off to the right, this fake tree here, it's still blowing leaves, which probably means that placed leaf blocks can now generate leaves on their own. Really cool. I really like that. I think builders are going to absolutely love that. So this is the Bestiary. We mentioned this earlier in the video. It's kind of like a Pokedex, but for Terraria. It keeps track of all the enemies in the game. And right now, the player has it filtered to just show enemies from the Blood Moon, which is cool. You have all these different filters to organize it all. Now, here are a few new enemies. 128, that's a brand new enemy. 130, 131, and kind of moving on from there, they're new enemies. So you've got the octopus, you've also got the eel, you've got this new flying enemy, that's 136, 137, that's Goblin Shark, we've seen that before, pretty scary enemy that pops up while you're fishing in a blood moon. And then 138, that's for a new thing, and I'm going to kind of talk about that later in the trailer, which is kind of cool. In the background, we can see that it's a new background, a brand new beach background. There's a sand castle there on the sand, which is very cool. And then inside of this hut was player created. This is not like naturally spawning. This mannequin, it has accessories on it, which is new. And then they also seem to be dyed, and I'm pretty sure that was confirmed in a previous spoiler. There's also a turtle. So this is the Blood Nautilus. We saw that in the Bestiary a moment ago, and it's being fished up during a blood moon with a brand new fishing pole called the Chum Caster. Now the players here are both wearing adamantite armor, so you would imagine that this thing gets fished up during hard mode. Now in the player's inventory, there's quite a lot to look at. First off, he has a brand new summoning weapon, that's that glowing bat, and we did see that in a previous spoiler, but also in the inventory we can see a brand new weapon in slot 4, the fishing pole in slot 5, in slot 6 is a bunch of meat in a bucket, I'm guessing, 7 has a brand new crate as well as 8 having a brand new crate, and then on the final bit, we can also see a brand new fish. And around that, we can see the octopus we also saw in the Bestiary. Now, having a little look at these buffs, one of them does stand out to me, this little one of a 4-leaf clover. Now, I'm not exactly sure what this is being used for. I would imagine that maybe it's used for some kind of like herbology or maybe luck, because obviously a 4-leaf clover is a sign of luck, but I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work into Terraria. For a few frames before this, we did also see the player Robert sat down in a chair while the other player was fishing. Sitting down in chairs is obviously something that's new and coming in the next update. Now, I really can't wait to see what's going to happen to the speedrunning community once Master Mode comes out. So let's dissect this image and try and figure out exactly what Master Mode is all about. Just looking at this enemy right here, it's the Eater of Worlds. Each segment has around 315 health, and that's actually 30% more than what you would get in Expert Mode. So I'm already seeing a 30% increase to some of the boss health bars, and that's kind of apparent in some of the other images as well. Now, down below, there's a brand new boss health bar. It kind of reminds me of the one I use in my modded series. It looks really good. I'm really excited to have it. Just to the right of that, we can see this new building, and this building is built using some of the new corruption furniture. That is player made, of course. There's a hat stand with a couple of hats on there, and just looking at the furniture, man, I forgot just how good that this looks. There's also a few new bricks there as well. They have like cracks inside of them. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there, but in the player's inventory, there's quite a lot to look at. First off, the player's using a brand new bow. It's called the Blood Rainbow. Next to that is a new summoning weapon. It's for a little frog, and you can see the frog down below near the base of the Eater of Worlds. There's also some more food on that hotbar. It's a burger. So same deal with the Wall of Flesh, about 30% more health, so I'm sticking with that as my concept for Master Mode. And then on the hotbar, we've got quite a lot of new stuff. So first off, I don't know what's going on in slot number 1 or 2. I'm guessing they're new weapons. In slot 3 though, we have the quad barrel shotgun. This is a new weapon. It looks pretty good. I mean, it's holding back the Wall of Flesh pretty well until the end. Next to that, I'm not exactly sure what that is. It kind of looks a little bit like a bird, maybe. On slot number 6 as well, new item, not exactly sure what it is. And then we can see that there's a little cat in this image, just near some of the hungry, and I'm guessing that this is a new summoning weapon, because you can kind of see part of the cat in the buff selector, but I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I would put money on it being a summoning weapon. Once again, with the Moonlord, about 30% more health than Expert Mode, and the player is also using a Celebration Mark II, which is a brand new weapon. We have seen this weapon shown off in a previous GIF, it looks amazing, but also in the player's inventory, the slot 5 looks new to me, and also slot 9 is pizza. So this is kind of becoming the food update for Terraria. Journey's End, do you know what that means? The Journey's End for the food truck. We're just getting a whole bunch more food, and I love it. So as the player is placing down gravestones here, you can see that even though the shot started during the daytime, it's getting darker and darker, and this fog is rolling in. So here, even though it's daytime, there are zombies spawning in and the fog is a little bit thicker. And then we see the player using the umbrella as a weapon, which is something I didn't really imagine for Terraria. And then now I see it, I'm like, yeah, makes perfect sense. So I imagine the other umbrella that you get, the one that helps you glide, that might have a similar effect as well, being turned into a weapon. So this scene is really showing off some of the new weather effects in Terraria. This one has a little bit of rain and also some thunder. The player is carrying a brand new weapon called the Gladius, and I'm pretty sure that's a new vanity outfit, although I'm not quite sure. There's so many vanity outfits in Terraria, I look at them and I'm like, are you just Necro? Are you something else? Yeah, my knowledge of vanity pretty slim. There's also a little wind turbine just next to it, which I really like. It's pretty cute. And above it, you can also see that there's a little ornament that spins in the wind. Amazing. So we're finally here at the very end of the trailer, and I hope you had a good time learning about all the little spoilers that were snuck in. So dissecting this final part, the character, well, it looks like Rosalina. Please nobody tell Nintendo. There's also a new vanity outfit next to her, and this character is emoting, so going back to earlier, this is what the emotes look like in game. Next to him is the Void Vault, or the Void Bag. I can't remember which one this is meant to be. Essentially, this one is the new piggy bank, where when you have an inventory that's full, the items will get sucked to a new bank, and you can have this floating around, and you can interact with it and such, much like a piggy bank. This one is also simulating wind, so both of the players have a kite. There's a wyvern kite and also a rabbit kite, which is very cute. Now, in slot number 1, you can see this magic wand, and considering there's a buff below it that looks like a star, and also Rosalina has a star, I would imagine that this is a new pet that's coming in Terraria. And then in the player's inventory is some blue dye, some spikes, so blue spikes, some really fast boots, and chili dogs. And I don't know what that means. So that's about it for my Terraria trailer breakdown. One of the best projects I think I've ever worked on in my entire life, and also working with Chaos, one of the best people I've ever worked with, hands down. So going forward, I don't have any kind of insider information. I was brought onto the project, and once it was done, I was removed so that I can remain as spoiler-free as possible, because I like doing my news videos, and I don't want to go into an update knowing absolutely everything. I like covering news, and that's the way I always want it to be. Relogic was so awesome about that. They kept me in the dark about so much, so everything you see in the trailer is legit what I know. Everything else? Well, we're going to find out when it comes out, which is very exciting. Coming 2019. Can you believe it? So that's about it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't already, maybe consider clicking the subscribe button. By subscribing to ChippyGaming, you're in the one-stop place for all your Terraria needs. Right? I'll see you in the next one. Peace.